恭敬大德圣听，为此法会及一切众生，请转妙法文，教导我们如何了生脱死离苦得乐，速增无生。Will the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo sadanto suchedoye alahadi samya sanputoshe.
Namo sadanto suche doye alahadi samyao sanputoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿皆如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in a million eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Shifu Shangren, Venerable Master, Dharma friends, good evening. Hi, welcome to our Sutra lecture this evening. My name is Heng Sure. It's the 29th of September. 30 days has September. We got one more day to go before we go to October. And we're here at the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery to look into the Flower Garland Sutra, the Avatamsaka Sutra. 10 grounds, 10 stages chapter, 9th stage, 9th ground. And appreciate folks in the Gold Coast of Australia who are putting their talents and time together to bring this lecture to China through YY.com, and also the kind souls who are sucking my words down into the computer, sending them out to YouTube, our Dharma Realm Live YouTube channel, and also GoToMeeting. So also friends who are translating into Vietnamese right here in our balcony. So we've got trying our best to turn the Dharma wheel in a variety of formats so everybody has something they can listen to. What we're missing is a live Mandarin. We decided that this was going to be that I was going to speak one language about 15 years ago. Before that, we did what I do up at City of 10,000 Buddhas, which is I do my own consecutive translation. Rattle off 10 minutes in English, then switch over to Chinese. But I saw fewer and fewer, I was afflicting fewer and fewer Chinese listeners with my funky Chinese. And so I started translating less and cutting it short, doing, 15 minutes in English and 7 minutes in Chinese. And after a time, we just said, don't need that, The people, masochists who come to listen to my Chinese probably, they need real Dharma help and not just butchered Chinese. So we decided that I would speak English, which allows the ideas to go a little longer it really does change your thoughts when you have to segment. And I'll leave you thinking on that one, and 15 minutes later I'm back to pick it up again. That's a different way of thinking. It actually changes your synapses. So that's a little bit about the history of this Dharma lecture series here at the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. We were thinking if we could name it again, we would probably call this the Berkeley Buddhist Lecture Hall. 佛课来佛教讲堂, something like that, because that was Master Hua always named his places the Buddhist Lecture Hall of Hong Kong, Buddhist Lecture Hall of San Francisco, and we lecture. That's pretty much our main event, except on Saturdays and Sundays when we also recite the Buddha's name and meditate. And we are also the Institute for World Religions here at the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. So that's our various identities. Now, to get going, I'd like to direct you here to the front cover of your sutra text. We're going to chant the names of the assembly, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who originally brought us this text, and we'll put that into the air with the help of a melody. That's the melody. Like that. So let's try it. It's in Chinese. It gives you a chance to practice your Mandarin. Here we go. Nam mô Da Phang Quang Pho Hoa Yen Ji Hoa Yen Hai Hui Mo Pu Sa Na Mô Da Phang Quang Pho Hoa Yen Ji Hoa Yen Hai Hui Mo Please turn in your text to page 54 and 55. Now, we find ourselves in the middle of a song. This is exactly what's going on. And who's singing it? The devas, particularly the female devas, devis, goddesses. So if devas are gods in the sense of beings that live in the heavens, plural, then this specified that female devas, goddesses, Devi, came out to praise the Buddha. And right on page 55, where we see line 1, 2, 3, 4, express these wondrous sounds of praise and acclaim, colon, right there, that's where their song begins. So all the way, stanza 1, the calm and gentle, 2, everywhere in the heavens, 3, without leaving this one place, 4, for living beings, 5, if they have kindness and compassion, 6, just as a magician. Those 6 stanzas are the song they're singing. So we get to hear how goddesses praise the Buddha, and we get to say it ourselves. Then you notice the next one is, as these millions of beautiful sounds finish their praises, right? So this is the quote, in between the quote marks is the sound of the goddesses praising the Buddha. So how neat is that? What the Devas think about the Buddha as he is about to bless Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva and tell him to teach this Dharma. All right? We did the first one, first or the second, but we're going to start over so we get the whole song. Okay? So we're going to start with the second stanza, the calm and gentle, free from defilement and harm. We explained that last week, but let's do it again. And you can visualize, we're there in the heavens with the Devis. We get to hear the goddesses sing. Now, I mean, is it better than Beyonce? Well, that would be a stretch, right? Is it better than like Sade, or is it better than some of the opera divas? Probably even better. Probably even better. So, now, is it better than Deng Li Jun? No, that would be stretching. I don't know if it's better than Deng Li Jun, but we can, at least from the lyrics, we can test it out ourselves. So, Ji Jing Tiao Rou Wu Go Hai. Ready? This is in the Chinese, we're on, if you count just the first character of each line, we're on the third one. Ji Jing Tiao Rou. Tiao Rou, second tone. Okay, here we go. Ready? I'll give you it, you give me the line back. Ji Jing Tiao Rou Wu Go Hai. Your turn. Sui so ru di shan xiu xi. Xin ru xu kong yi shi fang. Guang shuo fo dao wu chun sheng. Okay, great. Over to the right with me in unison. Let's read it. The calm and gentle, free from defilement and harm, cultivates this practice skillfully wherever he/she goes. His mind, like empty space, reaches all places in 10 directions, extensively explaining the Buddha's way and awakening all beings. Good. So we looked at that already. If it said the calm and gentle one, it would be less awkward. This is kind of awkward, the way the calm and gentle, what? Person, being, sage, one, who is free from defilement and harm, cultivates this practice skillfully wherever he goes. His mind, like empty space, reaches all places in 10 directions, extensively explaining the Buddha's way and awakening all beings. So right here, what does it say? It says, if you meet the Buddha, chances are he's talking. Why? Because the Buddha wants us to understand what he learned that woke him up. He wasn't a Buddha before. He was a prince who thought he had it all made, but then suddenly had the disturbing awareness that he was going to die. Just like that. Some people said that one of the differences between dogs and humans is that humans can be aware that our lives have an end, and dogs live blissfully without that awareness. Dogs are not morbid. They're not like, Speaking of which, did anybody see there's a viral video recently about the cow that fetches? Anybody see the cow that fetches? When you go home, now I'm not sending you to YouTube, but when you go home, check YouTube and type in the cow that fetches. There's this white Guernsey, it's a large cow, and this woman, I can't tell, maybe she's speaking English, she might be in England, and she has a large exercise ball, a yoga ball, a big, round ball, and she takes it and she kicks it as far as she can, and the cow goes and just tears off after it, just like a dog. Goes around, fetches the ball, knocks it with her nose back to the woman, brings it back, and then waits, and the woman kicks the exercise ball like that. I can't imitate the cow. I'm sorry. That's not a very convincing cow. But the cow bellows and goes after the ball and then brings it back with his nose for the woman to throw again. It's really, really cute. You've never seen a cow fetch before, but she's obviously playing catch with the woman. So anyway, how did we get onto that? Let's see. I'm not sure what but we're here with the Devis singing their praises of the Buddha. And, I know. It was that if we meet the Buddha, he will be teaching and talking and wanting us to wake up. Sometimes you see Buddhas sitting silently, I suppose, but mostly they extensively explain the Buddha's way to wake up all beings like us. It takes a lot of words, especially here in America. I was made aware of the differences in teaching styles. The way Marty used to tell me that the way martial arts is taught in Asia, he went to Korea to learn Taekwondo. And if you have a real master, the Taekwondo teachers pretty much go, okay, you do it. And you go, what am I doing? You saw me do it, don't be so greedy, and then, walk away and show it to somebody else. And you get to see it once, and then you imitate it, and that's what you learn. In America, it's not that way. It's like, first now, the fist shouldn't be too hard, and you have to go with the flow. Now, let the energy pull back at the same time it goes forward. Now, not too far, but not too far. Americans, we love to get the analysis of it at the same time that we do it. Not the way in Asia. It's pretty much, you see it once, you're on your own, There's not a lot of energy in the words describing it. However, to understand the Dharma, on one hand, true, the Buddha held up a flower and wordlessly, no words at all, passed on the Dharma to Mahakashyapa. That's true. However, if you're explaining like the precepts, you can't just show the precepts and expect people to get it. You have to give reasons why and illustrate it, and then embody it. And that's the way to do it. So the Buddha, if we meet him, is probably giving us lots of stories, lots and lots of stories about the value of cultivating, so that we can wake up, so that we learn to stop hitting ourselves in the head with the hammer. All right, next one. Are we ready? 天上人间一切处，悉现无等妙庄严，以从如来功德生，令其见者乐佛智。Everywhere in the heavens and among humans as well, he makes adornments appear incomparably fine, all born from the Tathagata's merit and virtue, inspiring delight for the Buddha's wisdom in those who see them. I think we talked about this one too, which is the Buddha uses all kinds of different things, all different methods to get us to wake up. And people have different things they like. Here he is among gods in the heavens, and probably pointing up is correct. So in the heavens. And then among people, likewise, the Buddha will make things appear. Fine things, like really wonderful fragrances, for example. And they come from his own uncovered nature, His light. And when people see Him, they go, whoa, that's so good. That is so fine. Thank you, you know. And they'll just stand and watch, because seeing that kind of perfection and harmony and balance makes us feel good. Makes us, what would it take to make us feel good? One thing for sure, in the process of making people happy and feel good, is He reduces our desire. So it's like you never feel like, oh, if only I had that, I'd be better. That whole thought doesn't occur anymore. So think about advertising. What is advertising all about? It's about the opposite of that, making us feel incomplete without that thing, right? And the point is to get you to reach for your credit card or your PayPal or your Apple Pay or your thumb on your phone so you buy it. Then the job of advertising is done. And once you get the thing, are you better or more complete or more satisfied or a more perfect? No, you're a little less because your bank account's lighter by that much. That's advertising. And this is my favorite story. You've heard me say this before, but I think it bears repeating because it was a real awareness for me that the great documentary called Century of the Self, right? Recommended. I'm sending you guys to YouTube all the time. Go to YouTube, look up Century of the Self, Part 1. There are 3 parts. It's a documentary about advertising, Part 1 in particular, and it's Sigmund Freud's nephew, whose name was Edward Bernays, like mayonnaise, right? Edward Bernays, Bernays, a Swiss guy, who came up with advertising, basically. And the story goes that before this whole way of looking at our relationship with material goods came around, shoes, right? You've heard this example. What were shoes like before the advertising, public relations and advertising? You had a pair of shoes. If you were working on the land, and a lot of people had an agrarian lifestyle where we produced food out of the ground, you had another kind of shoes. You probably had work shoes, work boots, and then the other shoes you had when you changed out of were probably for church. You put them on Sunday. But other than that, you're wearing your footwear, right? And what happened? Oh, got a hole in the sole? Take them to the cobbler. What's a cobbler? You know anybody who's a cobbler anymore? You do. You got one. The shoe fixer store. There you go. The cobbler. Yeah. And in a college town, you could probably pull it off. But my mother, when I was growing up, we had a choice of shoe repair. And there was one guy who was Greek, and he looked really, really handsome. My mother and my sister used to sneak off and find trouble with their shoes so they could go look at the guy. They admitted that to me once, and because he looked like a Greek movie star. And he was, he smiled at him, he had pearly teeth, and he would smile, oh, something to do with your shoes, right? And so anyway, that was what you did, is you got your shoe repaired. You fixed the sole, had your shoes resoled. You had your shoes reheeled, right? Or rarely would you change the uppers or you replace the laces. And your shoes came back and they were repaired, and those were your shoes. And outside the shoe store, what was the signage? How did you know that was a shoe store? There was a boot, a picture of a boot hanging over the door. Oh, that must be where you got your shoes fixed. You go inside, you talk to the cobbler, and he promises your shoes back a week later because he's got, shelves of your neighbor's shoes and your boss's shoes and So that was the story about shoes. So along comes Edward Bernays, this guy who's kind of a demented genius. Unfortunately, he was way smarter than he needed to be. And so what did he say? He went to shoe factory, not a cobbler. And he said, "You want to sell a lot of shoes?" He said, "Paint those red. Or make those out of red leather. And make the toes pointed. And make the heel higher. Put them in the window." Said, "Make a lot of them." And so they, in the window of the shoe store, they took down the boot over the door and they put up, shoes, plural. And they had a big display in the window, and they probably paid about maybe a dozen college girls to walk around downtown wearing pointed-tipped red leather high-heeled shoes. And every woman who saw them went, "Look what those shoes do. I need a pair of those." Pretty soon, everybody needed a pair of those. And then they made wingtips for men. And Edward Bernays advertised them as the shoe for the discerning gentleman. And it was right when people were starting to get off the land and start to move into factories or move up into management or something. And so, the discerning gentleman needed a pair of wingtips, and they're looking, "Oh, look at those. Those look really distinguished." Suddenly, everybody's closet had 2 pairs of shoes, then 3 pairs of shoes, and then came running shoes, then came tennis shoes, then came sandals, then came, and sure enough, the shoe store with the boot over the door became the shoe emporium, and everybody needed more shoes. Well, what happened? How come suddenly they got along fine for hundreds of years, not needing more shoes, and now we do? Advertising, right? We need those. So that's what this wonderful documentary called. Who's the filmmaker? What's Adam Nagurian? Yeah. So anyway, recommended. Century of the Self. There's much more than that, but he goes on to tell stories about how advertising and Edward Bernays overthrew the government of Panama. Adam Curtis. Yeah, Curtis. Yeah, that's a story for another time. So, okay, when the Buddha shows up, all of those thoughts of, "I'm not okay until I ... all those thoughts are gone. You feel full and complete. Not deficient at all in any way. Right? Just not deficient. And if you think about, oh my goodness, watching pre-teen adolescents, I guess adolescents or teens, pre-awareness of the opposite sex adolescents, boys and girls, usually somewhere around 5th and 6th grade, who girls are just kind of a pain. And what they're interested in is friendship. Are you my friend? Will you be my friend? That's what they're interested in. Not, oh, she's cute, I wonder if she likes me. Not that. And they're not looking at guys as competition. There's that blessed age when their minds are awake already. They're interested in knowledge, but they're not looking sideways in the class to measure up to, who's the strongest, who's the prettiest. And it's just, there's this innocence and unity in the child. And then comes puberty, and suddenly, oh my goodness. I remember I was in 5th grade, and my neighbor, Don, had a dance party. And of course, everybody needed to be invited to the dance party, or you had your first social trauma if you were not invited, And so I got invited, and watching enough television, I realized that I needed mouthwash so I wouldn't offend. And just at that time, ice blue Micron oral antiseptic, not Listerine. Listerine was nasty, right? But ice blue Micron oral antiseptic. Anybody old enough to remember Micron? It was advertised on the Western shows that I was watching. Bang, 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 and then mouthwash. Bang, 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 bang. And so I took my allowance, which I got a quarter a week, 25 cents a week. That was my allowance from my dad for washing the car, cutting the grass, and shoveling snow, right? Doing the dishes. 25 cents a week. I put it all together, and I went to the store and got some Micron oral antiseptic, which I used, and it's terrible in your mouth, but I knew that at least I wasn't going to offend with bad breath at the party. I mean, what fifth grader has bad breath? It's like. But I was confident, Oh, there went my money. And then I bought my first 45 RPM, Gene Pitney's Town Without Pity. When you're young and so in love as we, and bewildered by the world we see, how can people hurt us so? Only those in love will know what a town without pity can't, And we're like dancing to this. Now, why is that still in my head? That would be a question worth investigating. But because here I am sitting at Antaiji, Now, at fifth grade how old are you in fifth grade? 12? 10, okay. So 12 more years pass, right? And I'm sitting in Japan doing Zazen. Gene Pitney's Town Without Pity comes on my my inner record player, right? What a town. And I'm thinking, boy, I hope this is the last time I have to listen to that, Unbidden, rising up in my mind. So, hallelujah. Anyway, so yes, advertising. I did not need mouthwash. I brushed my teeth. And sure enough, I took my hard-earned quarters and bought a bottle of mouthwash. So, manufactured desire. We're told what to buy. When the Buddha shows up, all those insecurities, all those manufactured deficiencies just go away. You're full. Nothing missing, nothing lacking, right? Okay, so inspiring delight for the Buddha's wisdom in those who see them. Okay, here we go. Never mind Gene Pitney or mouthwash. Let's get back to the sutra here. 不离一刹一众土，如月普现照世间。因生心念悉皆灭，譬有譬喻构想。Sorry, let's try that again. 譬有故想无不应。There we go. Without leaving this one place, he travels to many lands. As the moon shines everywhere, illuminating the world, for him, voices and the mind's thoughts all fall still, just as an echo sounds everywhere through a valley, equally, without fail. All right, now, this is magical. This is one of what are called the 10 doors of mystery, Shi Xuan Man, the 10 doorways, the 10 gateways to the mystery. It's this list of things that occur, phenomena that the Avatamsaka points out. Now, this is a tough one. So, if we're looking at this and thinking, give me some basic Dharma, this is not it, right? This is like out there. This is like hard to explain. But the Buddha gives us two natural phenomena to illustrate something miraculous, which is what? How does the Buddha, without leaving one place, travel to many lands? On the face of it, contradiction, right? How does that happen? And then it says, the way the moon, a single moon, shines everywhere in the world. And they, if we didn't have the roof here, 3 nights ago on the full moon, I could hold out my teacup and I would catch the moon. And you would hold out a teacup and you'd catch the moon, right? And the moon would appear everywhere. And then we would drink it equally. So then, the second phenomenon, it says, for him, voices and the mind's thoughts all fall still. 音声心念悉皆灭. Sounds and thoughts in the mind all gone entirely. That's why samadhi. The Buddha can make his mind really quiet. That's how he got to be the Buddha. Then again, we get an image from nature. How does that happen? How does the mind fall still? It says, 譬有, for example, 鼓响, valley echo, 无不应, nowhere not respond. Anybody ever hear an echo? I mean, we use the words a lot. You ever do an echo? Where was it? Can you imagine? Where was it? In a big room? Okay. Homerito, where have you done an echo? In your own house. Because it's really empty, maybe. Your room. Okay, good. Where else? Death Valley? Caves? Yeah, caves. From mountain tops? If you get to a top of a mountain, sometimes. Canyons are famous for echoes. Anybody have a favorite canyon? Right. So culverts or underpasses too, right? So the thing about an echo is you go, hello, and then you hear, hello, 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 right? Coming back. And the Buddha's illustration here is that there's no place that doesn't catch the echo. Likewise, the Buddha can be sitting with his mind really quiet and seem to appear everywhere. Now, is it he seems to appear, or does he actually appear everywhere? I can't answer, don't know. But the impression is there that he doesn't leave a single place, but he travels everywhere. You've all got one of these in front of you. Could you all turn to page 11? Here's another example of it. Got page 11? Look at number 34. One nature completes every nature. One dharma contains all dharmas. One moon shines at once in all waters, and every shining moon returns to just one moon. Isn't that nice? This is the Song of Enlightenment, Song of Awakening to the Way by Master Yongjia. The Chinese is really nice the way it works. It goes, 一性圆同一切性. Right? So one nature completely connects to all natures. 依法遍含一切法. One dharma thoroughly contains all dharmas. 以月普现一切水. One moon appears everywhere in all bodies of water. 以切水月, 以月舍. It's really beautifully written. All moon waters are gathered back by a single moon in the water. 一切水月, I'm sorry, every water moon comes back to a single moon in the sky. So one moon, infinite numbers of teacups with water, and a single moon gathers them all back. So this, it goes on. 35 is the same principle repeated in a different way. 诸佛法性入我性，我性通公如来合，一地具足一切地，非形非色非心乐。贪智 over to page 12. 贪智愿成，贪智愿成一切法，三七水月。let's see. Oh, I lost it. 贪智愿成八万门，刹那灭却三七业，一切数据非数据，与我灵交合照舍。Okay, there we go. The Dharma body of all Buddhas fills my nature, and my nature shares alike with all thus come ones. One stage, one ground, completes every ground, and it's not form, it's not mind, it's nothing bound by karma. In a single finger snap, 80,000 dharmas are completed. When you blink your eye, 3 countless eons of karma are done. Endless words and phrases mean nothing at all. They're totally unrelated to the reality of my magical awakening. So that's very cool. That's great prose in verse. That's great songwriting, actually. So it's the same Dharma, which is what? It's breathing, right? There's this reciprocal thing where the moon appears in every body of water. The moon is reflected across the windshield of countless SUV minivans, right? And then all those moons return to the single moon. And it just keeps doing it. So in nature, dharmas, the moon, the Buddha's Dharma body, all the stages. Then what it goes on to say, dharmas are finished, karma is gone. When you blink your eye, all the words we're using to talk about it, they're empty. They're not there at all. It has nothing to do with the reality of what I'm talking about, which is a contradiction, and that's the real flavor of it. So, very cool. What are we doing? The devas are singing. This is a song. They're just really going out to praise the Buddha. Okay, now we get a little bit of Buddhist politics. The last stanza. 若有众生心下劣，未必演说声闻恨。若心明利，乐必知，此谓彼说中成道. For living beings whose minds are lowly and base, he explains the practices of a sound hearer. If their minds are sharp and clear, and they admire Pratyeka Buddhas, he tells them of the way of the middle vehicle. Okay, the Avatamsaka Sutra is right up front criticizing other Buddhist sages. This is interesting, and I say Buddhist politics because you can't hide it. It's critical of people who cash out early. Cash out means they can take a nirvana, and they do. They don't make the Bodhi resolve. They don't care that other people are still suffering. From the point of view of the Avatamsaka Bodhisattva, those are inferior and base, right? And you think, oh, Buddhists are just so lovely, they love everybody equally. Yeah, but they're also sometimes critical of selfishness. The sutra is critical of selfishness. It says, think big. We're all related. Don't leave anybody behind. Connie.
Have this thing where if I'm really mad, I like to just like cut off the relationship. And I was thinking of that in my head in meditation the other day. Is it possible to like really cut off a relationship, with another person? Because I don't know, Avatamsaka, in the Avatamsaka, it's like we're all interconnected in some ways. So how does it work? Like if you want to not, keep a connection with someone who's not a good influence on you, but how does it work? Like, what should my state? How should I approach that kind of situation when it don't? Yeah.
One. Okay. It's many ways to approach relationships, and one is people that we encounter in our lives, we have connections with. Sometimes really wholesome, other times not. And it's not fate, it's habit. Why do we meet certain people? It's because when we were with them, we related to them. Maybe, let's say we did business with them and we cheated them. That's a relationship. Maybe they were a teacher and you took their class and you learned from them. They are your benefactor. There's a relationship. Maybe you were soldiers in the army together at some point. Maybe you were food and they ate you. Now you're back to get yours back. The sutra describes that relationships. Those are all ways of relating. So, okay, in this life, we kind of open our eyes, look around, and we go, wow, look, these people I'm with don't please me. I want to get away from these people. What do I do? Are you bound to hang with those people? What if they're your family? What I understand Master Hua to say, and what I understand the sutras to say, is it's all based upon our action. Think of all the people in the world who you'll never, ever, ever, ever meet. Why don't you see them? Because we haven't done anything with them, good or bad, to harm them, to benefit them. And they haven't with us. So, if, let's say, you want to break off a relationship and happens to be your mom, well, that kind of close, tight relationship comes from having been with that person before. Even so, those ties are alive. They're not fixed, they're not fate, they're not destiny, none of those things. So what do you do? Master Hua gave me specific instructions how to end my connection with a monk who struck sparks with me. Every time I saw this guy, he and I both immediately caught fire. We didn't like each other at all. And it was visceral. It was in the body. You could feel it. To the point where, I've told this story before, this was at City of 10,000 Buddhas, and this was a young monk. He was maybe 10 years younger than me, but he was big and tall and didn't like me at all. And so we were always kind of like in a room. I would always be aware, and and I would catch him staring at me, and stuff. And so, oh man, you could just feel it, radar. You could feel it on your skin. And so we were outside the monastery, and Master Hua showed up. And I was here, and this guy was here, and we were kind of like, of course, monks don't fist fight, but it was like they were ready to jump on each other. And so Master Hua walked between us, and he had his white patriarch's whisk, his baifu, and he went like this. He went in the air between us. And there was this coolness, and there was a sense of kind of like a rubber band snap back. And I was like, I'm back. Oh, where have I been? Kind of like, blah, 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 and feeling just complete and happy and cool. And then I looked over, and it's like, you, you know, instantly. And he looked at me, and Master Hua walked away, you know. Because he did whatever he did and wiped away the enmity, and then as soon as he walked away, we were like, we're back at it. And so about a month later, it got so bad, I went to see him, and I said, Shifu, I just really can't stand this. What did I do to hurt this person that he and I can't stand each other? And what can I do to end it? I really want to put an end to this. And he looked at me slowly and said, do you really mean it? Do you really mean it? You're not just saying that. And I said, I just don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to have to live my life oriented to this person who's, you know, unhappy with me. And so he said, all right. He said, if you mean it, it's up to you. Here's what you do, he said. Every morning, you go down after morning ceremony, by yourself somewhere, in front of the Buddha. Just pick an altar anywhere. You can do it here, you can do it there, you can do it over there. Light some incense and kneel in front of the Buddha and say, any harm that I have done this person in the past, for whatever reason, I now repent of profoundly. I no longer want to harm this person in any way. He said, and any other negative affinities that I have with any other living being, may they all come to a peaceful resolve. May they disappear. And, he said, may all living beings be the same. May negative affinities among all living beings disappear. He said, make that wish, not just for you, but for everyone. He said, and then bow. He said, you can hold that person's image in your heart once, but not because you don't like them. If you put his picture in your mind, you're going to hate it, you know, and you're going to get angry as you bow. Just put that person's image there, or their name, and then bow. He said, slowly bow, and with every bow you can say, erase the negative affinities with each bow. And he said, if you're sincere and you don't stop, the situation will change. And so I said, okay, boy, whew, you know. And he said, it's up to you. It's no magic. It's just, you know, what you let go of in your mind. The bowing helps. But you have to really mean it. So I started every day. I lit incense, and it's part of my life. And I just did exactly as Shifu said. And then I was called away. Went off to staff, I think it was Taiwan, and kept bowing. I kept it up for 3 months, every day, just like he said. So that's 180 hours of bowing. And came back to City of 10,000 Buddhas thinking nothing about this, not even, you know, wasn't conscious anymore. And I passed the guy in the hall and didn't notice. And it was halfway out the door, and it was like, oh, that was him. You know. And so then he returned to lay life, went away, and recently he's been listening to my lectures. So now I'm not taking anything for granted. You know, I don't want to, it could flare up again. I don't know where it came from the first time, but it sure was real. And that was a very good method. So what I learned from that experience was affinities, connections with people, positive or negative, are not fixed. They're not permanent. They're things we do to tie up with people. So undo them. And being sincere in front of the Buddhas gives it a real boost. So, there you go. Now, how magical is this ability? Yeah, TJ?
I was wondering, is it possible to attain a perfect happiness, be free of all your sufferings, while without being free of all your defilements in your mind, which is mentioned here, without still having a bit of selfishness, or without being fully selfless? Is it possible to be free of suffering and perfectly happy?
Well, yeah, to a degree. And of course, if you're talking about an Avatamsaka Bodhisattva, they're gradually letting go of their ignorance, their, avidya that covers their mind. And the more of that they erase or wash away or grind away or scrape away or repent away off their nature, the less selfish they are. Okay, to the degree that they let that go, that's how much happiness, quote, they get. But what is the happiness they get? I would suggest it's not what we call, happiness. It might be peace of mind. I think it's more connected they become. The more they realize that there's no difference between all living beings and themselves. That illusion of separateness and being broken, you're all outside of me and I'm in here alone, that's ignorance.
But nirvana, is that possible while you still have even a bit of selfishness in you?
Everybody's different. So the samadhi states that are described right here in the sutra are mostly small nirvanas. And the reason why we're in number 9 right here, right? Number 8 was where the big crisis happened. And the bodhisattva was challenged to keep her bodhi resolve fresh and big. Because why? There was a tendency to go into a small nirvana and stop, with a bit of selfishness still there. Now, I mean, we probably can't imagine how pleasant and wonderful and blissful that nirvana state is, which is to say you're beyond any further becoming. You're not reborn again. So old age, sickness, and death and rebirth don't happen anymore. That's nirvana. But what's your state of mind? From the bodhisattva's point of view, it's a dead end. Because you still kept a little bit of ignorance. They talk about, we're in number 9, the highest bodhisattva stage before Buddhahood is the 10th stage, the next one after this. And they say 10th stage bodhisattvas on purpose keep a little bit of ignorance behind so that they can still connect with living beings, so that they understand the state of those who they need to cross over. It's an empathy, but they choose not to completely uncover their nature. If they did, they'd be done. But then, and some do, some don't, they make that big bodhi resolve, the bodhicitta, I'm going to stick around and teach every living being. I'll go last. That wish, some make that early on, others don't at all. So it's, as I understand it, so it's everybody's got a different case. That make sense?
Yeah. Shakyamuni Buddha, what about him? Shakyamuni Buddha.
Shakyamuni Buddha?
He didn't. He went all the way, didn't he?
Okay. So you're asking about the end of the path, right? And I can only give you what I've read. This is not my turf, but I've heard all kinds of things. Like Professor Lancaster used to play devil's advocate, and he'd say, Shakyamuni Buddha was just an arhat, What? It's like, how do you know? Says who? So there are definitely different accounts. And again, everybody's nature is different. And if you wanted an analogy for it to make sense, that city of 10,000 Buddhas. There, Luther Burbank, the great horticulturalist, right? In Santa Rosa, there's a Luther Burbank Center, right? He was a great gardener. He grew all kinds of new plants that nobody had ever seen before, all these different kinds of plums and elephant garlic and all kinds of stuff. So Luther Burbank planted one of every tree that grows in California on the grounds at City of 10,000 Buddhas, except bristlecone pines and Joshua tree. Those two are too unique. Conditions don't allow. So when we first got there, City of 10,000 Buddhas has grass. Not at the moment, it's too dry. But there's grass growing there. Okay, and then right beside it is what's called a cork oak, courtesy of Luther Burbank. The bark is cork, same kind of cork you make corks out of. Okay, right over here is what's called an Atlas cedar. They grow in North Africa. Atlas cedar, magnificent tree over there. And then over there you got valley oaks, and they're the real treasures because they're vanishing, and we have some, our grounds, because it was started in 1930s, has some of the most beautiful valley oaks in Northern California. People who cherish them come around just to look at them and sketch them and photograph them, right? Then there are 2 redwoods. But the amazing thing is, one is a Sequoia sempervirens, which is the coastal redwood. Shouldn't grow there because it's too far from the coast. We're in the valley. More wonderful, there's a Sequoia gigantea, a Sierra redwood, which shouldn't be there, right? And so my point is, all these different kinds of trees, from the grass to the cork oak, to the valley oak, to the Joshua tree, to the Atlas cedar, to the various kinds of redwoods in the valley oak, they all grow out of the same soil. They all drink from the same groundwater, but they sure don't look alike. And one is that kind of tree. And so people are the same. And apparently bodhisattvas are the same too. So person right beside you could have a huge mind and say, no, I'll be here. I kind of like it. Yeah, it's a mess, but that's I can help here. Others go, Pure Land, here we come. Amitabha, get me to the Pure Land tonight, So it's up to the individual, I think, how they resolve. The action happens on your nature, though, how much ignorance you leave or remove. Okay? Yep. Jerry, I'm sorry. I'm having trouble hearing. Can you take that mic over? Yeah. Everybody, I'm sure, would like to hear it too. So here comes a mic.
Can one practice Pure Land Dharma of reciting the Buddha's name and self-inquiry, or chant Dharma like "Who am I?" daily at different time of the day? Or should one focus on just a single Dharma door?
Okay, choice B. So you can, let's see, I guess that'd be choice A. So you can do more than one. It depends again on what you like. The right answer would be, if you want to, sure. Nobody's going to tell you no. Some people have different capacities, different interests. I like to do multiple things. So, especially when I was on my pilgrimage, I had a whole list of practices that I did every day, and at different times. Marty, Heng Chao, learned from Master Hua how to contemplate Om Mani Padme Hum with his breath, and he never did anything else. He just didn't want to. He was really happy with his Dharma method. And I would tell him what I was doing, and he would go, "You're nuts. How can you possibly concentrate with all that? You're just scattering. Man, you're just creating affliction for yourself. Simplify. What's wrong with you?" And I would go, "Yeah, but I mean, I got multiple monkeys in the tree, and if I don't throw them bananas, they're going to run away, you know. So they can't all eat the same banana." So anyway, so yes, you can. Now, if you're in the middle of a Chan session, don't go reciting the Buddha's name in the middle of the Chan session. If you're in the middle of an Amitabha session, just use that method while you're focusing with everybody. So you don't want to be like unique and cause trouble with other people. And if you're in a group cultivating if you're with a group, not by yourself, there's real strength in sharing cultivation with others too. You can find yourself going beyond your own limits when you're bowing together with people, or so you don't have to stick to one and feel that. Let me say that again. It's good to stick to one while you're in the context of a practice session, but to feel that it's wrong to have more than one method, I don't think so either. People can't only eat bread. Occasionally we want potatoes, other times we want rice, or corn. So and yet there are people who do eat only rice, I suppose. One method only. Okay? Make sense? Yeah?
Using the experience of Paul and Ken, how can we use that method on behalf of the leader of a country towards the leader of another country? How can we do to minimize the conflict in the world without some positive force to intervene people underneath?
Without some
Positive force to intervene people underneath the conflict.
Okay, the question was, how can we, I would probably say, can we use the method of repenting and reforming on behalf of the leader of a country with relationship to a leader of another country? This is getting complicated. And how can, what about the impact on the people of the country without some sort of influence to really change things? Is that?
Without some positive force to intervene the conflict in the leader.
Oh, without some positive force to intervene. So, you're asking a kind of a empty space lawyer question, how much and how little can we really change in empty space on second and third parties? And it's like 30%. How's that? Thank you. That's good. I appreciate that. That's a hypothetical. So the question would be, is it possible? Can you? And it's a great thought, but if you're bowing to effect political change between two nations, potentially at conflict, that's a good thing to do, and it's way better than ignoring it, and it's also way better than contributing to the conflict, like marching off to war. How much can you change it? Gee, I don't have any, peer-reviewed double-blind surveys to give you a percentage. But it's a good thing to do. And we have an example. And this is one of those that, I don't want to sound flip as I answer. But I'm thinking of one exact, perfect example, which was, believe it or not, I'll just tell you about it, and you can decide whether this makes sense to you or not. In 1960, 1965, was it? Somebody can check. Nikita Khrushchev put intercontinental ballistic missiles in Cuba, pointed at the U.S. The CIA, the FBI had U-2 spy plane photographs going over Cuba saying, yep, those are a bunch of intercontinental ballistic missiles 90 miles away from Florida. That's dangerous. The Bay of Pigs had happened, and there's apparently, I've done a bunch of reading in this, and the real story is something way different than what the official record is written. But everybody said, we're in trouble, because why? John F. Kennedy is staring down the barrel of a missile 90 miles away. The Russians could nuke America. What are we going to do? And everybody credits, the official story is everybody credits John Kennedy for staring down Khrushchev, saying, take those missiles away, that's an act of aggression. If you don't, we will destroy you. And, gave him tough talk. And lo and behold, miracle upon miracles, Khrushchev put the missiles back on ships and took them back to Russia. That's the official story. And everybody went, whew, we missed it. We dodged the bullet, because that could have been World War III. Right? Was it 75? 1965? It's called Cuban Missile Crisis. Okay? So, 66? 62, 1962. Yeah, because Kennedy was shot that same year. So that's the official story. Now, nobody really can explain why Khrushchev backed down, because he was the Russian strongman, and it was, the two gunfighters on Main Street at high noon, who's got the fastest gun. So in San Francisco, hearing that we were hours away from an atomic war, Master Hua made a vow to fast. And he didn't eat for 35 days. And on the 35th day, Khrushchev took the missiles away. And he said, and the San Francisco Chronicle had an article, had a picture of Shifu, that he said, I'm fasting for world peace. We don't want the missiles to fall. Specifically talking about the Cuban Missile Crisis. And now, are we claiming that it was our teacher who kept the world from nuclear disaster? Doesn't matter, does it? Didn't happen. So this is really sensitive stuff. If we say our teacher, did a miracle, I think so. I believe that was the case. But he wouldn't, he won't claim it for his gong lao, That's all his doing. But it certainly didn't hurt. 35 days of no food. Just a little bit of water. And every day, cup. And the missiles went away. That's what happened. And events like that are noted for what didn't happen, So, no fanfare, no bugles blowing, but the Chronicle reported halfway through that he was fasting for world peace. And if you look at the newspapers, at the same time, there was a huge, huge, huge earthquake in Iran. There was a 7-point-something earthquake in Iran, and I forget the name of the town, but it was one of the worst earthquakes. Tens of thousands of people were killed immediately, and then another, tens of thousands were left outdoors in the cold without a blanket. And he was fasting on their behalf as well. So, skeptical scientific minds would say, what in the world is the connection between his not eating and the missiles going away, and what's the connection between not eating and people getting better having had an earthquake disaster? You could ask that, and both you'd say that's an example of 天灾人祸, right? So natural disasters and human calamities. The 天灾 is the earthquake, the 人祸, the human caused, is the two countries going to war. So both of those, you could say, come from negative karma, relationships gone wrong. The natural disaster is still connected to humanity, according to this view that we're totally connected. There's no space where things I do doesn't affect the air, the water, the land. How much the more the people. So if we create goodness, if we endure suffering on behalf of humanity and nature, you wipe away that karma. That's the theory. So you could say that kind of willingness to endure, not eating is tough. I did an 18-day fast and it's painful, it's miserable. And he did it twice 18, specifically on behalf of the earthquake sufferers and the missile crisis. So you could say, if he's willing to undergo discomfort and suffering and transfer the benefits to humanity, suffering in various ways, that's good. That's a good thing. Now, prove it, can't prove it, it's invisible, but okay. It's better than getting angry, or kicking back and popping a six-pack and watching the TV, So anyway, so that's a story. That would be an example of, could a person's, by repenting, influence what's going on between two countries? Well, he did. Can we prove it? That cause created that effect? I believe it was the case. It's up to you whether you think it. So I don't talk about that very much. We didn't bring it up in our exhibit, in our story, when we're writing Master Hua's biography of that time, and we'll point to it. We're not going to make claims about it because that's real sensitive stuff. Oh, you think you're a teacher, Yeah, we do. What do you think? There's no proof, but certainly skepticism is good. Be skeptical. And every now and then you think, man, that's wonderful. That's miraculous. If there weren't heroes like that, I would want them to exist. There's a hero of the culture. Yeah. So here's, we've got a little bit, the kickoff point of that was being critical of beings who were lower in base, being selfish, basically. And again, it's the Devis singing about it, right? So because we only have one page left, I'm going to stop here and save it for not next week, but the following week. So we'll take a break. Could I point you over to page 13? Number 40, up at the top. Page 13, number 40. Which one do you prefer? Raise the Dharma flag, set the teachings course. The Buddha unmistakably said, Cao Shi is the source. Through generations 28, it came from India. The lamp of Dharma passed along from Mahakashyapa. The Dharma flowed east and came to this land. Bodhidharma was the first patriarch to stand. 6 generations passed the robe, as everybody knows. May countless people get the Tao, as to the west it flows. Okay, that's one choice. Do you like that? Or don't establish truth, the false is empty now. Toss out both right and wrong, empty's empty anyhow. Your 20 forms of emptiness only mean let go. The single nature, thus come one, has been here all along. Anybody who wants to can sing along. 44. The mind is the root and dharmas are all dust. Mind and dharmas both are like a mirror stained and cracked. Polish out the stains and cracks, the mirror shines like new. Forget both mind and dharmas, the nature now is true. Okay, that's 2 different ways of singing the same melody. David, which one is better? The first is a major, sounds like a church hymn. You know, raise the Dharma flag and set the teachings course. You know, it's quieter. You think Sunday morning, you know, the Buddha unmistakably said, Cao Shi is the source. Through generations 28, it came from India. The lamp of Dharma passed along from Mahakashyapa. That's kind of happy and kind of, you know, private, quiet. And then it's, the mind is the root and dharmas are all dust. That's darker, minor, negative. Mind and dharmas both are like a mirror stained and cracked. Polish out the stains and cracks, the mirror shines like new. Forget both mind and dharmas, the nature now is true. Turn over, 45. We pretty much haven't sung on this part of it. 45, here we go. Alas, the Dharma's end, an evil troubled time. Living beings are blessings poor, their minds are hard to tame. The sages lived so long ago, all the wrong views thrive. The demons are strong, the Dharma is weak, how long can it survive? Number 46. The doing's in the mind, but the body feels the blow. Karma takes its course, let the lawsuits go. The evil that leads us to the endless hells is real. Don't slander the Tathagata's proper Dharma wheel. I love the way these all shoehorn into the right count, right? The evil that leads us to the endless. Let's see. The evil that leads us to the end. Let's see. The evil that leads us to the endless hells is real. There we go. The evil that leads us to the endless hells is real. Don't slander the Tathagata's proper Dharma wheel. Okay, the next two are a pair. There's only 3 or 4 places in the whole Song of Enlightenment where 2 verses come together as a pair. This is one of them. It's about the Lion King. The Buddhists called the Lion of Dharma. He gives the lion's roar, Shi Zi Hou. So this is that one. Shi Zi Hou wu wei shuo, bai shou wen zhi jie nao lie, xiang shang ben bo shi quan wei, tian long ji ting sheng xin yue. Shifu would go, Shi Zi Hou wu wei shuo, bai shou wen zhi jie nao lie, xiang shang ben bo shi quan wei, tian long ji ting sheng xin yue. Which is this. Oh, wrong. I gave you the wrong Chinese. I gave you the Chinese for, it is the lion's roar. Oh, shoot. I would get scolded for doing that. Okay. Shi Zi Hou wu wei shuo. Oh, 17, back on page 7. Here we go. We got 3 lion's roar verses. There it is, the lion's roar, a fearless, awesome sound. 100 beasts and birds in terror tremble on the ground. The big shots and the baddies, they lose their special style. The gods and dragons in samadhi listen and they smile. Let's hurry back to the rest of the lions. We're back on page 14, 47. The sandalwood forest holds no scrubby weeds. There lives the Lion King, deep amid the trees. Tranquil is his concentration, strolling in the glade. The birds and beasts show him respect, they vanish in the shade. Here we go, 48. The lion's cubs, a lively pack, play on the forest floor. At 3 years old, they each can make a grown-up lion's roar. The jackal in his folly tries to pick a fight. The sad old ghost, he limps away, howling in the night. Sounds like Bob Dylan. It's not. This is Master Yongjia, right? Like, whoa, who knew this stuff was here? This is really fine. This is Tang Dynasty poetry, right? Songwriting. The jackal in his folly tries to pick a fight. Sad old ghost, he limps away, howling in the night. This, so 47 is Zhan Tan Lin Wu Za Shu Yu Mi Shen Shen Shi Zi Zhu Ji Jing Lin Jian Du Zi You 走兽飞禽皆缘去，狮子儿众随后，3岁便能大小后。扎实叶干祖法王，百年妖怪须开口。Okay, let's do since we got it. Let's do page 15. Anybody want to try the positive, the major scale? Anybody like that first one, the major scale? Yeah? So the perfect sudden, It goes, here it is. The perfect sudden teaching, let's see, the perfect sudden teaching cares not about your mood. Any doubts, bring them out and put them to the test. This rustic monk makes no claims, I've got nothing to lose. I want to save you from the pit of clinging to fixed views. Some say that's wrong's not wrong, some that right's not right. You'll miss it by 1,000 miles if you miss it at the start. Right is right, the dragon girl accomplished Buddhahood. Wrong is wrong, good stars fell to hell from where he stood. There's stories within about who was the dragon girl and good stars. These two are related. The next two are related. I used to be a scholar in my student days. I combed the books and sutras, I jumped into debate. I knew the names and traced the flaws, distinctions without end. Like dropping to the ocean bottom, counting out the sands on a spreadsheet. Sophistry was blasted by the thus come one. Counting others' jewels benefits you not at all. All along I wandered lost, such a waste of time. How many years in vain like dust adrift upon the wind. Okay, so what do you think? TJ, which one? Major scale, minor scale? Minor scale. What do y'all think? Val, major scale, minor scale? No preference? Jerry, which one? Major scale, yeah. Okay. This one has really got some power. But the other one is kind of hopeful. Okay, that's fun. Thank you for encouragement. We have announcements. Tomorrow morning, there's a Buddha recitation session starting at what time? 9? 9 to 11. At 1 o'clock, we have a special lecture on earthquake preparedness. Tom Brosher, U.S. Geological Survey scientist, is coming to talk about his specialty, which is earthquakes and how to prepare for them. That's tomorrow. People who would like to take part in the photo exhibit at the San Francisco Public Library on October 6th needs to register. How do they do the register? You want? We weren't going to announce that. Oh, oops. Okay, so that's right. So it's going to be at the San Francisco Library, and there's a limited number of seats. So, not that you're not welcome, but you want to. It's going to be a wonderful thing. The exhibit is up for 3 months at the San Francisco Public Library, and it may then move to other branches. What else? Is that it for announcements? Chabadola, huh? Picnic at Highway 9, October 14th. There you go. How's that? Whet the appetite. This coming Tuesday, it's first Tuesday, right? Tuesday night, Abba Giri will be here to lecture. Okay, Jerry, how many people listened today? Both are around 60. Mostly around 60. 60 years of age. The audience is getting older, or there were 60 people listening. That's great. Really appreciate the volunteers putting us online. Thank you so much. 31, going to China. All right, dedication of merit, the last page of your songbook. And make a wish. I'm going to ask Tom Brosher tomorrow about something that I just read about, which is called the Cascadia Subjunction Zone. Bigger and more damaging than the Hayward Fault. That's all I'll say about it. It's just too scary to contemplate. But do you ever drive up to Buddha Root Farm on Highway 101 alongside the coast in Oregon and see tsunami evacuation route, those signs, and you go, whose joke is that? Tsunami evacuation route here in Oregon? Yeah, come tomorrow if you want to hear the bad news. Make a wish. May all, let's see, I'll turn the questioner's question towards tsunamis and earthquakes. Can one person repenting and reforming influence heaven and earth not to shift violently? Those tectonic plates. Ayah. May every living be our minds as one and radiant with light. Share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. One more. May all become compassionate and wise. Indeed. Okay, have a week full of blessings, and we'll see you again. Next Saturday night, Chin-Fo Shi will be explaining the Sutra Limitless Light, Limitless Lifespan, Wuliang Shoujing. We're going to be accompanying a number of guests from China and Taiwan around the state of California for the days that they're here for Master Hua's event. So next week is the Wuliang Shoujing, our Master Chin-Fo. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Namo Da Fang Guang Hua Yen Jin Hua Yen Hai 菩萨。